on the realistic, a Nietzschean phenomenon. Let's give a narrative presentation of Nietzsche as though we're presenting some kind of East Asian puppet show. Here we have Nietzsche's vision of human beings as ants, or as something like the Richard Dawkins version of the dominance of evolution over all other thoughts, and then sort of the secret background notion that there's this little space by which one thinks, oh, we could rebel against the so-called selfish gene. The dominance of the lion, the dominance of the non-rational forces, the blindness of nature, and then the only mere apprehension of its uninterruptible forces through the sacred theory of post-Hamiltonian evolution with certain epigenetic characteristics, and other various challenges to its basic theoretical standing. There's the ants which deceive themselves according to, which we are, which deceive themselves according to Nietzsche, because they can't really start a war. The ants can't start a war against other ants. It's simply not possible. And so they deceive themselves through these various debate topics, through language, into believing everything. So here in Nietzsche, then, unlike Dawkins, Nietzsche, instead of making this sort of unconscious, wait a second, what if I explain everything through the selfish gene, can't I rebel against that? That Nietzsche sees that in advance, and he includes himself in advance. And here's just, so this is what I'm saying, the realistic. He says, here's my realistic version of what's going on. I call it nihilism. It takes 4 parts. I'm describing it to you. It's a realistic vision of the Geschichte, or the history of the Germans. They don't know what's true. They don't know what's false. They don't know whether to light the torch in the morning or in the evening. It's as though we were drifting through this Triebnach und Endlichkeit, or this infinity drive to nichts, as it were, to the nothing, or the Nichtset, this essencing of the nothing, what the nothing properly is, as though it were the being of the whole. Which is to say, like Aristotle says, ousia, or what it is of the eye. So that's what is it of a physical eye. And then Aristotle says, this is when you point at it, you're pointing at the potentia, but the act, the energia, or the energy of it, is sight. So then you see that there's this manner of thinking which originated, even though it was already there in Plato, but it congealed and hardened in Aristotle, of this this is which Heidegger is interested in the metaphysics theta. Although it's interesting to point out, he doesn't take that much interest in metaphysics 12, which I think is lambda. That would make an interesting sort of comparison. But Nietzsche's point here is when you include yourself in the I know that I don't know. Even that claim is radically suspect. It's just one more of the claims. And um, but nonetheless, the life-giving lie of it is that it seems to have a sustaining content. So it's like we could say, if we look at Socrates, we see, what does Socrates mean by I don't know that I know. It's in a way it's included in this famous Socratic irony that he conceals his superiority because he doesn't want to be lynched, basically, or because he doesn't want to be put to death by the population who will get annoyed because he shows them up to be fools, especially the more powerful ones, right? Who have the sons of this as powerful men who have decided to have him brought up on charges and then killed under the democracy, as maybe 400 or 500 Athenians were playing the role of the deacons, I think, or the judge, however this is called. This it's usually glossed as the judge juryman, but maybe that's even wrong, and there's some new stuff on that that's more. Maybe it's, I don't know. I think there's a more detailed way to describe what was happening, but that's the sort of like cliff, like I don't know the how could it not cliff notes, but like flashcard version. Like if you're just gonna write something to give an answer in a test, the flashcard version is, yeah, there's 400 people put Socrates to death under the democracy in 399 BC because he enraged the best, some of the aristocrats through showing that there were ignoramuses or something like that. Although he was formally charged with having somehow deranged the education of the youth. Yeah, so they have this challenge in Nietzsche, and then there's a question like, yeah, whether these questions can be sort of, how these questions are to be sort of faced up to, and how they're to be regarded for the possibility of a stronger, or a better vision than this Nietzschean vision of the this unendlich Nichts,